You know, this time of year always gets me thinking, not about the presents, but the moments. The sound of kids running down the stairs on Christmas morning, the way the house smells when the cookies come out of the oven, or those family stories we've told so many times they've practically become tradition. But here's the truth a lot of us feel as we get older. Those moments don't feel the same when your mind is foggy, or you're forgetting things you used to remember so easily. And I'll be honest, that scared me because I want to be fully present with the people God's blessed me with. That's why I started taking NeuroThrive from Critical Nutrition Labs. It's a natural daily formula that supports healthy mitochondria, the tiny power plants in your brain cells, so you can think clearly, stay focused, and protect the memories that matter most. If you want to head into Christmas feeling sharp, energized, and fully yourself, now's the perfect time. Right now, you can get 25% off with code SBD25 at criticalnutritionlabs.com. Give your brain a little holiday support so the moments that matter truly stay with you.
He started using not even the just the patterns with the paddle, but actually putting an Indian club into his students' hands. And I was like, okay. And then he even got some more insight about how we can make it even a little bit more specific to pickleball players.
It got them on the right swing path. The weight forced them to kind of stay on track.
Yeah.
Whereas the light pickleball paddle is easy to flip and flap around, which distorts where your ball is going to go.
It is a perfect marriage, like taking the paddle out and putting the Indian club in, which is only 1 pound. Right? It's not super heavy, but it is going to be heavier and it's weighted differently than a paddle. But it allows for that natural pendulum swing. You know, it just feels right. We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 strength and health authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another show here on the Strong by Design podcast. Hosting today, Coach Chris Wilson, and my microphones are in position. That's right. They are not tilted upward. We just went through this whole thing. They have to be tilted at the mouth. You know, we've had problems in the past with the microphones, but I think today we've pulled it off. It's well lit. Are you liking the lighting today, Zach? Yeah, he's feeling good. He doesn't want to speak yet. He's reserving his words for the topic at hand. We have a very special guest, Coach Andy, in the house today as he waves to the crowd.
Thanks for having me.
We're gonna have some fun here. Today's a little bit different. We have two coaches that we'll be talking to about a particular topic that I think is largely popular nationwide right now, but also specifically to our older demographic, our plus 50s, our plus 55s, men and women who are typically dealing with ailments, and the shoulder being one of the #1 pain points of the body. As we age, and how to navigate that, but certainly how to also have the lifestyle that you envision having when you're older. So if you're younger, listening to this conversation actually still applies, because this could be beneficial to people in your life, maybe your parents, that you could turn them on to this conversation if they're trying to be a little bit more active. Certainly one day you're going to be there as well. But I love talking about things that we can do that involve play and activity that doesn't feel like work, that doesn't feel like rehab necessarily. It feels like, it feels like fun. It feels like play. It feels like things that we did when we were children without even thinking about it, just because that's just the way that we function. It's the way that we move when we're younger, and we stop moving that way. And so before I get into the conversation, I want to introduce properly our two special guests today, Coach Zach Zenios, who has been on the podcast many times. This might be the 5th or 6th time now. There's a lot of episodes on the Strong by Design podcast with Coach Zach on it. Zach is a man of many hats. He is a neurosomatic therapist, correct? Mm-hmm. He is he's a yoga instructor. What's your? Are you still RYT 200 on that one?
RYT 200.
Okay. And he is also a personal trainer. He is also what else? Well, he's a kettlebell. He's certified through Strong First, kettlebell expert. He is a Indian club expert, which will come up in conversation a lot today. Obviously, anything else? Am I leaving anything else out?
Master's degree, exercise and nutrition science.
There you go.
There's other ones, but that's good.
And that's from University of Tampa locally, right?
Sure.
Which is an amazing school here in our backyard of the Strong by Design podcast right over the bridge. And our other special coach, pickleball coach, former teacher, and now pickleball coach here at Tampa Pickleball Crew, right?
Yes, sir.
Tampa Pickleball Crew. It's a bit of a tongue twister for me. It doesn't take much. Andy Tzinberg. And Andy has been actually involved in the Critical Bench experience at least one other time. Earlier this year, we brought our whole crew over there. We rented out a couple of courts for several hours, and you were our instructor, and we had a really fun day learning pickleball properly from a coach who we immediately just enjoyed your company for a few hours, and you were terrific. And so I thought of you, a few months back when we were trying to pair our Ageless Shoulders programming with how it could benefit the pickleball player, the pickleball community. And you immediately, we met, had coffee. You were in alignment with pretty much everything I was saying based on what Zach has discovered in recent years using the Indian clubs and stuff. So I just thank you so much for making time to come and be on the show today and talk about something that's, obviously for us, the three of us in this room, very interesting for, longevity, for people really getting the most out of their life when they get to that, that last third, when sometimes people start living a different way and saying, well, that's not for me anymore. I can't do this. I'm in pain. I guess that's just the way life's going to be. And it's an awful way to live. So again, thank you for coming and sharing your experiences as a coach.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the vibes that your whole company had at Crew the other day.
Yeah.
And it just kind of inspired me to be excited to work with you because it's like, oh, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a great vibe because we all get along really, really well as a group. We're just friends inside, outside of work. We've done a lot of things together over the years. And we definitely got that feeling from you. And that's the vibe, I think, what attracts people to pickleball in general is that social element, community, the fun, all of that. When I was a manager at a tennis and fitness center for several years, I used to get some of those vibes too from the people that would come in, mostly retired folks who had a lot of time. They'd come in and they'd spend, half their day at the club where I worked, and they just were engaging and had an energy about them, different than just like a traditional fitness center. I don't know, do you get that vibe too? Like, you go to a gym and people are, healthy and looking to stay active and do good things for themselves. There's another element, I think, that seems to be there when it comes to like a play environment, or competitive play environment like pickleball. Do you pick up on that as well?
100%. Yes. We have people who will bring their computers and they'll be on call at work, but they'll be playing pickleball. So they're they hang out with their friends there. Even when they're done playing, they will spend time there just socializing and they kind of set their weekend plans and what they're doing from there when they're at work not. It's my work. It's their play.
Yeah. So it's like a Starbucks
sure.
with pickleball courts or something. Like people just want to come and hang out and see their friends and like play a little bit, but then just relax and maybe watch others play. And it becomes this whole like fun environment.
Yes. And so many people either have never played sports before or are coming back to sports after not playing for a long time because pickleball provides that social aspect. And then talking about shoulders, they're not realizing what toll it's going to take on their body. So that kind of brings us full circle on what we're going to do today.
It totally does. And it doesn't hurt that Zach is quite the athlete himself who enjoys pickleball. Like you had you ever played before? When we played together in the beginning of the year, you'd hit the ball a few times.
I've actually played with friends, and I've played with the same people for a while.
Oh, okay.
And I actually got we were good against the same people, so it got to our heads. And a buddy of mine decided to partner up and go into a tournament. And there's levels of I'm not sure what the number is, but we were way too overrated. So our rating was like a 4, I think, or something.
Yeah, 4 means that you know what you're doing and you're pretty good at it.
Yeah. And so we thought we were good playing against the same people. We go into the tournament. Oh, man, we played 7 games total. We lost all 7, and I think we scored a total of 5 points. It was one of the most humbling experiences of my life. Here we are thinking we're the bee's knees, right? Playing against the same people, doing good. We're pretty good at this. Yeah.
Props to you for not sandbagging, though, and playing too low. Better to play high.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather, that happen than we win and then get even a bigger head.
Yeah.
I'd rather be humbled and be like, no, we actually are not that great. Because we're going up against people who are not even in shape.
Right.
Right? We were like, oh, this guy's, he hasn't worked out in a while. And then they're just technique, boom. They don't even have to run. We're running. Dude. We're going all over the place. We're running there. It was very humbling, and it was but yeah, it is nice to win like we won that.
Well, yeah, because we were just, we were goofing, having a good time at our company. There was 12 of us there. We all split up into our own group, our own pairs, our own doubles pairs. Zach and I ended up getting, together. Did we pick each other or how did that work? It was random. I think we did random teams so that it wouldn't be any weird strategies going on. So we were just randomly placed together, and we never lost the whole day. Yeah. And it was just so much fun. And I knew I would love it. I hadn't played pickleball before that day, but I played a lot of tennis. And obviously, there's massive similarity. And I've played a lot of ping pong in my life. So, it's just kind of...
It's right in the middle.
It's right in the middle. It's like you're standing on a ping pong table, really. It's like...
You just can't fall off.
You just can't fall off. But the ratings for tennis and pickleball probably very much the same. In terms of a 3-5 player, a 5-0 player,
I believe so, okay. Yes. So when you kind of start out the rating system, you kind of start it without the 2.0.
Yeah.
This is a player who is very, very novice, maybe isn't super coordinated, swinging and missing.
Right.
Very low serve percentage. Then once we get to 2.5, 3.0, we're locking in our serve percentage. We're having rallies get a little bit longer, learning some new shots. Then once we're 3.5 and above, we're really starting to understand the game, develop the game. And then at 4.0, 4.5, 5.0, you're starting to, dream about the game.
That's right.
At night.
But so 4-5 and 5-0 certainly, but even 4-5, you're like a coach. You're like an instructor.
Yeah.
That's how good you are.
Oh, we saw. I mean, we definitely should have played.
What'd you put yourself at?
We were at 4.
Oh yeah, you're ridiculous.
Because we thought we were good.
If you put yourself at 3, you probably would have had great success.
Playing for 6 years and coaching for 4, my partner and I just recently got a bronze medal at 4.0 in Orlando. So it's hard work.
Yeah, so we would have gone against him.
Correct.
Who does this for a living, and we're over here thinking we're hot.
And never, and I learned this very quickly, talk about humility on the tennis court. These are on clay courts. I think I was talking to you about this last week. Where I worked, we're all clay, and it's a wonderful experience. If you've never played on clay courts, go do it. It'll probably become your favorite surface. I was playing with people my age generally or whatever who were about my same level. And then this older gentleman by the name of Tom, we saw each other quite a bit, and he heard maybe me say that I was looking for other people to play tennis with, and he was like, hey, I'm here all the time. I love to play. He was older. He was like 70. He's like, we come out and play against me or whatever. And I, of course, in my mind at the time, I'm like, your age. I'm like in my low mid 30s, I'm like, I'll crush this guy, This is like a former 4-5, 5-0 tennis coach. He killed me. I don't think I won a game, certainly. Barely could win any points because he would just place it wherever he wanted to. He'd lob it over my head. He would do all those things. He was just this older, kind of just normal looking older guy. Crushed me. But we played regularly for years, and I got better, and I got better, and I got better. And he would marvel at how I would chase things down, and I would marvel at how he could just run me around, and we had the best time. But you can never judge a book by its cover when it comes to racket sports like that.
Yeah, I think pickleball is the #1 sport where you cannot look at someone and get a clue on how good they're going to be.
No.
And not until you step on the court.
That's right.
And the ladies, too. We were
they're
in the
awesome.
tournament, we were watching the ladies. I'm like, man, I feel like some of these girls would beat the dudes. I'm like watching them, and they're so quick and like aggressive and just perfect placement. I'm like, man, thank God we didn't go again.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
Get your butts kicked by the ladies.
Yeah.
Gladys and Marge.
Yeah, the older ladies, too. They were so into
Back
it.
me up, Janet.
That's awesome. All right. So initially, I'd like to just establish who you are, Andy, for our audience. Obviously, we've talked before. You were a school teacher for many, many years. You transitioned into pickleball several years back as it was growing in popularity because of your own interest in playing, right?
Yeah.
And you were just like, well, heck, I'll just do this for a living. Take us back to that kind of that transition that you had in your life from teacher to pickleball coach and the passion.
Oh, definitely. I was lucky to have some freedom within my scheduling because I was a substitute teacher in San Diego, and I had a friend who had a court available for me to use. So I started subbing Monday through Thursday and then teaching pickleball lessons on Fridays. Fridays bled into Saturdays, so I stopped subbing on Mondays. Saturdays bled into Sundays, so I stopped subbing on Tuesdays. And then within about a year and a half or so of starting coaching, I was doing about 80 to 90% coaching throughout the week and then only substitute teaching if I kind of felt like it. My goal after being a full-time teacher was to find a way to utilize my degree in elementary and special education outside of the classroom.
Yep.
So now I work with different pickleball players, and I'm good because of the education that I have on individualizing their coaching and making sure that it's tailored, a program tailored to their skills.
Yeah, no doubt. I picked up on that pretty early on when we met and worked with you earlier this year, and just your ability to work with people, your presence, the way you work with people, the way you speak with them, and you could tell that there's a lot of other experience going on there, which serves you quite well, no doubt. And then, of course, we have the stud over here, the Indian club expert himself, which, you look back on our channel and you look back at how many years you've been kind of mastering this tool and working with the clubs and all these other things, maces and kettlebells and traditional training and body weight training and all this stuff that you do. It's really it's really who you are. Is your routine still kind of similar to what it's been for the last, year or so, where you're kind of an early riser, you're getting up, you're doing a lot of movement-based stuff, body weight, Indian clubs, and maybe some other tools? Are you still kind of doing that outside in nature in your backyard?
Well, actually, so I just recently set up my garage gym.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so I do my warm-ups outside because I like especially the morning sun. I'll do my clubs outside, but then I got the heavy sandbags, the kettlebells, the dumbbells, and they're just all in my garage gym. So I just train there now.
Yeah.
And it's better for the heavier stuff because it's level ground.
Yeah.
It's just right there. I don't got to worry about the weather or if the floor is wet, and it's just a little bit more of a consistent training experience in the morning. And
right.
But yeah, I still love to get outside, you gotta get that sun.
Yeah, because you have kind of like a preserve area off the back of your house. Once you do your little, he has
awesome.
He has a fenced-in
Wish I had a
backyard,
house.
right? Traditional fenced-in backyard. But he has this like ladder gimmick that he can put over the fence so that he can go up and over the fence.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
It's
like
from the medieval times. They used to use these ladders to climb fortresses and castles, and that's what it feels like.
That's what it feels like. It's hilarious. But this is how he gets into the back. Like it's like no one lives back there.
It's a preserve.
It's a preserve. So he goes back there.
Like just trails.
There's no trails. It's just literally just woods and coyotes and raccoons. And supposedly one of my neighbors says a Florida panther. I don't really believe that, but maybe.
Maybe.
They named the
Well,
hockey
maybe
team
one of
after
these
something.
maybe one of these days you'll see each other back there. But no, it's cool. A lot of your stuff on your Instagram is kind of shows this area off a little bit and kind of how you like to operate back there and in nature, grounded, barefoot, all that stuff, which plays pretty heavily into like all of this that we're talking about today is like starts from the ground up. And if you're moving right from your feet through your knees, through your hips, everything else seems to follow, right? So shoulder pain specifically is a real deterrent for people as they get older and doing anything, reaching up into a cabinet, doing yard work, right? Certainly playing tennis or pickleball or any kind of sport-related activity is maybe not even an option anymore because this is an area that maybe from past traumas or just underuse for decades. And it really robs people, I think, of all the potential fun and experience with their children and grandchildren, with their friends, with their community. And this is something that we feel very passionate about, the three of us, because we feel like we've stumbled upon something, but this is largely an off-the-radar strength tool, the Indian Club, that you've made kind of a household item. You have a whole array of Indian clubs. You've been using them for years, and you see the magic in it. And as we were talking about this months ago, we're like, there's an opportunity here, I think, to service this whole craze of pickleball players, millions of people who are gravitating to this sport. Mm-hmm. And these like your place, Tampa Pickleball Crew over in Tampa is building, they have new courts opening any day now, right? Pretty soon.
I'm not exactly sure on the timeline. I don't want to.
But soon.
Yes,
soon. Probably maybe this year or something like that, or
that
early
next
safe. Year.
That sounds safe to say.
Huge indoor facility, kind of cool vibe to it.
Great vibes.
It's busy pretty much 7 days a week,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, we have wait lists almost every day.
Yeah, which is just crazy. And we rented a place here locally to do some filming. There's other places all around us. What's explaining this kind of newfound craze for this?
I think huge part of it is big reason that I got into pickleball is working out doesn't seem fun. Going to the gym doesn't seem fun. Running doesn't seem fun. Maybe I'll do it once, but I'm not going to keep it up.
Yeah. Yep.
But pickleball is fun.
Yeah.
By definition, you don't realize you're running for the ball because you just want to win and play a good game. And then by the end of your 15, 20-minute game, and you play 6, 7, 8 of those in a 2-hour session, you're dripping sweat, but you're smiling and having a really good time and being able to do it with friends and kind of work on skills and test your own self along the way. It's a lot under the umbrella.
Yeah. I think that does a great job of capturing it. It is. It's centered around just having such a good fun. It's competitive. It's not. I'm sure some people really go overboard with how competitive they get with it. But it is. Every time I've played, I've just had a smile on my face. I shouldn't have an alarm going off, but I do. And Steve said that. He said, silence all your phones. And I'm like, it is on silent. Can't explain.
It's the world we live in.
I'm telling you what, I always have these alarms going off. So I would say largely the 50 to 75 age range is who's really out there on the pickleball courts nowadays. Not to say that people in their 30s and 40s aren't playing. They certainly are. I'm just saying it definitely seems like that demographic of all the former tennis players are kind of, and I know a lot of tennis pros who are now pickleball coaches, pickleball, so it's this massive shift that has happened too, because it's just a little bit easier on the body. It's a smaller area. What would you say are some of the reasons, top reasons?
So smaller court,
less
running when in the mind before you do it. You're still going to do plenty of running though. The paddle is much lighter and smaller than a tennis racket, so it's much easier to control.
Yeah, you should.
A tennis racket's more here, where a paddle's here. Our tennis players usually swing and miss their first ball because they're expecting that longer reach.
Yes.
And the ball is much easier to control. It's lighter. It has air in it. It's just a wiffle ball, so it's easier to get good not even two, way more than 2, 5, 10, 15, 20 hit rallies that just go on and on and on.
Yeah.
And again, win or lose the rally, you're having a great time and getting a great workout.
Yeah, no doubt. And the goal, obviously, it's a little bit different than, well, not necessarily, I don't know. I might butcher this, but the goal in pickleball is to be able to advance to the kitchen line pretty much and be playing up as close to the net as you can play versus tennis. Now, singles with tennis, certainly there's approaches and there's but typically most of the rallies are from the baseline.
Yeah.
Whereas in pickleball with doubles, both people, the goal is both people moving up and playing in close proximity, which explains all the dinks, the back and forth, quick reaction dinks.
Absolutely. And it also explains why shoulder ailments might come in because you're using your arm many more times than you would in tennis. Tennis, you have long ground stroke. In pickleball, it's pop, 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 literally. So you're using your arm maybe 10, 15 times more than you might in a game of tennis. And that definitely needs to be addressed in terms of physical therapy and recovery and stuff like that.
So that repetitive stress is definitely kind of plays at it, even though people assume, oh, it's nice and easy on the body, it's just, I'm just out there just thinking with it, with my little paddle, hitting a wiffle ball, I'm not going to hurt myself. And most people thinking that also feel like they don't need a warm up. They could just get to we've talked about this. Yep. They get to the court and they just throw their bag down and it's like, hey, Sally, hey, Bob, let's start playing. That's my warm-up. It's just we're going to go easy with each other to play. But, Zach, why is that not necessarily the best approach, at least long-term, for shoulder health?
Well, the first thing is you have to warm up before you do anything. And I don't even like the word warm-up. I like the word priming.
Yeah.
It's more about looking at what you're going to be doing, whether you're training or whether you're playing a game or a sport, and priming the body to be able to – it's like greasing the groove. Right, greasing the groove so then when you actually go to play, when you actually go to serve or you're dinking, your body's more primed to handle that so you don't get these injuries or these repetitive traumas.
Yeah.
And one of the main things with pickleball is you have to be reactive, right? Even if you're just up by the kitchen line and you're playing as best as you can and you're right there where you should be, dink, dink, you have to be extremely reactive to the ball.
Yeah.
And the problem is sometimes this is where people get injured, right? Their shoulder... Whether it's when it's a predictable movement.
You got it.
Yeah, there you go. A little tongue twister.
This is me trying to say Tampa Pickleball Crew. I couldn't get it out. Go ahead.
When it's a predictable movement, your shoulder and your nervous system can kind of prep for that movement and you're less likely to get injured. But when it's a boom, boom, oh, I got to reach all the way out here. I got to reach across. That's where the shoulder could get injured or is more vulnerable. And so that's why it's important to train or warm up or prime the body before you go out on the courts to be able to first grease the groove, get that shoulder lubricated in the joint, also synchronize the shoulder with the hips, especially with your serves. 'Cause I'm sure as you see with your players, if they're not using their hips when they're serving and they try to really hit a ball, I mean, they're just that shoulder and elbow, right? So you got to warm and prep the body to be able to effortlessly be fluid, right? Because you can be more reactive and have better reaction times when you're fluid. And fluidity is a combination of relaxation and tension. So when you go to hit a ball, if you're tense, if you're really holding on to too much tension and you hit it, you might get a good hit, but you'll be less accurate. You'll expend more energy. You'll be able to be on the court for less time, and you're just not going to perform as well. So it's about prepping the body to be more fluid, which will in turn be more reactive to the balls, as well as synchronizing the shoulder and the elbow with the hips and the spine. And that's where we go into prepping the body before you play. It's very important. And you can't just go on the court, play a little bit, oh, then I'm warmed up. It's like you can, but you're going to pay for it in the long run.
Yeah. We like to say doctors love pickleball.
Oh, yeah.
Not because, well, maybe because they play, but also because people do get hurt playing pickleball.
Yep.
They think, oh, small court, little paddle, little wiffle ball. But if you do not warm up, take maybe 2 minutes to warm up, then your body isn't ready to do what it hasn't been used to doing.
Yep.
And I tore my Achilles, unfortunately.
Yep.
We see people with legs and shoulders and backs problems almost daily.
Yeah, and people are always crunched for time, right? You know, I marvel sometimes at just the pace of life, right? Everything is just so fast moving, and it's frustrating even, you know, and we're all in it. We're all kind of moving in this fast pace, but you only have an hour for this or an hour for that or not. And so people sacrifice their priming time, their warm-up time, whatever those minutes should look like when they first get to an activity like pickleball, and they just fast forward through that, skip it all together, and get right to playing, which might be okay for a little while, but eventually it can cost you, especially as you get more competitive and you get better as a player. The warm-up, that priming, becomes even more important because of just what you're demanding from your body as you kind of ramp up that competition, right? And level of play and frequency of play.
Yeah, I love coming up with analogies, so my brain is turning. It's kind of like in school when you're like the kids who study all the time, like you think they should be having more fun, but now we look at them and they have really good jobs, they're making a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it's like you should stretch, because if you want to be able to keep playing and play hard and play good, you need to take that time to do that less cool thing that actually is very, very cool because it keeps you going.
Meaningful and not super time consuming either. You know, just a matter of minutes every time before you start.
It's not even the matter of do you warm up or do you stretch, it's how are you warming up.
Yes.
And I'm sure that you see a lot of people when they let's say they are going to warm up, they just kind of maybe do a couple arm swings or they stretch their quad and they do a lot of static stretches. And I mean, the science is clear about static stretching. While static stretching is great after you train or great at improving flexibility in a corrective stretching environment, before you do anything, especially explosive, and pickleball is explosive, you do not want to be static stretching. And what I mean by static stretching is you hold the stretch. You want to be doing something more dynamic. One for your lower body, yes, but even for your upper body, right? That shoulder needs to be dynamic to be able to get fully back and load up to hit a ball. Or it needs to be, you have to be dynamically stretched. And what better way to do it than to warm up in a dynamic way the patterns you're going to be using when you actually play.
Yeah, it's like if you go to a sporting event, like let's say an NFL football game, what are you seeing on the field an hour before the game starts? You're seeing all the players from both teams, right? You're seeing the linemen kind of lining up like they're at the ball and coming off the ball, those first 5 to 10 yards. And you're seeing them do that repetitively. Mm-hmm. You're seeing them maybe making some contact maybe with each other, right? Kind of just like greasing the groove, as you say. What are you seeing the punters and the kickers doing? They're warming up their legs. They're doing some practice kicks. You're seeing the quarterbacks throwing the ball. You're seeing the receivers running some easy patterns and catching the ball. They're dynamically warming up for the exact movements that they're going to be doing against their competitor for 3 hours.
It's priming their bodies.
And they're taking a lot of time. They're probably warming up more than they'll be moving in the game. They probably move more in the warm-up and put more time in that warm-up than they actually maybe are on the field for the whole game, right? And it's for a reason. It's like you want to be 100% ready to go and play at 100% speed for the duration of that game and hopefully be injury-free. And that doesn't always happen in a contact sport like football. But there's a lot you can do as an athlete to at least put yourself in the best position to avoid injury.
Especially in the explosive sports.
Yes.
Football is extremely explosive.
Right. Yeah, maybe that might be a heavy analogy because it's a contact sport and unlike most other sports.
There's
but
a lot
like
of
baseball players.
There's a lot of non-contact injuries in football, though.
Oh, there are. You're right. The guy just cutting, making a cut,
his Achilles
a pattern.
snaps or his hamstring.
His knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, happens all the time.
Absolutely. a lot of times what we hear is people saying, oh, this is my warm-up game, because they don't want to waste their time on the court and by stretching off to the sideline. So their warm-up game, but they don't do anything in terms of making it a warm-up game. If they need to run and sprint to a ball, they're immediately running and sprinting to a ball.
Yeah, no doubt. There's also one other aspect to this that I didn't really have in my notes to necessarily discuss, but what are you doing as a pickleball player, just as a man or woman over the age of 50, when you're not playing pickleball? When you're not at the pickleball court for that competition with your friends and stuff? What are you doing at home? What are you doing maybe when you go to work out at the fitness center that you have a membership at? What are you doing when you get up in the morning or before you go to bed at night for your body, for care, especially when it comes to the shoulders? And there's a lot of stuff that people can do that'll help them, right? That'll work in their favor to strengthen and to get the circulation going in all the parts of the body. Because what happens is people are so much dealing with consequences and the aftermath of things like, oh, I got to put ice. I got to take some ibuprofen or aspirin. This hurts, that hurts. I got to do this. It's all like after the fact stuff. When really it's about what should you be doing? What could you be doing that's preventative? Maybe like, this very well. We coined a term or a phrase, frozen blood flow, in our Ageless Shoulders programming with the Indian clubs. And why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about what that means and why that's so healing for the body versus the alternative of all the icing and all that stuff that people are doing for home remedy?
Well, I mean, you want to get to the root cause of things, right? You don't want to just be patching it up with Band-Aids and trying to address it after the fact. You want to get to what's causing it to hurt all the time in the first place. And if let's say you're playing pickleball and you're an avid you play pickleball all the time and you're hurting in the joints every single time after you play, especially the shoulder, especially the elbow or the wrist. Well, you can say that's just part of getting old, but at the same time, that's friction. Something in the joint is not working properly. Your movement patterns are off, or your recruitment, your scapular rhythm is off in some way that's causing this pain to keep on coming. And in terms of the frozen shoulder, I mean, the shoulder is the most mobile joint in the body, right? You have two balls and socket joints in the body, the hip and the shoulder. The hip is more weight-bearing, so it's not as free, but the shoulder, you have so much range of motion. And a lot of times when you go to a PT, a physical therapist with some shoulder pain, they're having you do like isolation exercises with bands.
Yes.
You're doing one little rotation here, one little rotation there. That's going to actually throw your shoulder off even more. That's going to throw off what's called scapular rhythm, which is your scapula be able to move together in the proper way with the proper neuromuscular connection. And that's where a frozen shoulder comes in, right? Your shoulder's not moving. It's not working. Adhesive capsulitis, like there's inflammation in there and it's not moving properly. It's not moving in the ball and socket. There's not enough synovial fluid or lubrication. And so we don't just have to train the shoulder. We don't have to prehab it with bands. No, we actually got to get the shoulder moving in the circular rotation to free it up of any adhesions, to get the blood and the lymph going, especially as we get older.
Yeah.
Stagnant lymph is an epidemic for older people. They're not, even if they're playing pickleball, they'll still maybe wake up. I don't know if you see that with some of your students, but maybe they wake up with swollen ankles or swollen feet. That's the lymph being stagnant, and that's your immune system.
Yeah.
So by doing certain things, by like getting the arm over the head and doing even the most basic Indian club patterns, you're lubricating the shoulder, you're improving scapular rhythm, which in turn will take the load off of your elbow or your wrist, so you're not muscling everything. You can get the shoulder more fluid,
right?
Which means that you'll be more reactive, because a lot of times you have to react really quickly. And those short, quick movements, well, the shoulder's not stable. The shoulder's not used to moving in that pattern.
Yep.
Oh, man, non-contact. I just went for a ball and my shoulder slipped out of place.
Yeah, I tried to move quickly, explosively, and my body's not prepared for such a thing. Especially at 9 a.m. when I've barely done anything. Yep. That's my court time, 9 a.m. I better be playing by 9:01 or I'm wasting my court time. and it's like, no. And there are things that people could be doing when they're not there that would benefit the shoulder in terms of just the circular rotation, as you talked about, and strengthening that area so that when they get to the court, just 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5 total, if you're, trying to really go through all the strokes. Even you, Andy, the other day, you're hitting a guy against the wall a little bit, just maybe after doing some certain motions of the shoulder and hips and stuff and hamstrings, like there's lots of things to wake up and warm up. Then maybe some nice easy strokes against the wall, but it's not about, again, the length of time that you dedicate to this. It's about what you're doing during that amount of time. And even me, a pickleball stuff aside, when I train, whatever it is that I'm working out in a particular day, like yesterday's a great example. I worked out at home. I go through a series of motions. I do thoracic twisting, T-spine rotation. I do like inchworms to upward dog and downward dog, and with some push-ups. And I do like some reverse lunges, and I try to move my body dynamically, and that's part of my workout, but it's all warm-up. It's all warm-up, and I'll do that for 15 minutes until I feel like I got to sweat. Now I feel like I can hit some weights, or I can, it's like I've earned the right to do my workout now. Do you go about it kind of like that for yourself, Zach, when it comes to whatever it is that you're doing? If you're training, maybe a little bit more of an intense workout that's coming in a particular day, you don't just go right to the heavy sandbag.
No,
you're doing something else for a while to earn the right to be able to pick that thing up and work out with it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, let's say I'm about to lift a heavy sandbag in a bilateral lift, just like pick heavy thing up, put it down.
Yeah.
Before I'm doing that, I'm doing some spinal fluidity things. I'm working with the rope. I'm working with the clubs, getting that thoracic spine moving and just getting everything kind of working together before I go and lift that.
Yeah.
And then when I lift it, my body feels so much better. And then at the end of my workout, I go back to that spinal fluidity, especially if you're lifting something heavy.
Yeah.
And you're using, let's say, the Valsalva maneuver, you're really bearing down and locking everything in.
Yeah.
While that's great when you're lifting something heavy, that can also create rigidity in the spine, rigidity in the torso, and then you're moving like a brick. And so if you are going to do heavy lifts, or you want to, lift something heavy and get really strong, you also need to balance that out with fluidity in the spine, fluidity in the and like getting the whole body working together with the hips and the shoulder. So it's very important not just to warm up. That's why I like the word prime better than warm up, because when you think warm up, just get my heart rate up.
Yeah,
get a little
It's
heat in the
general.
body. Yeah, where it's like priming. No, what are you doing that day, and how about you prime the body in a way that's going to make what you're doing that day better, less likely to get hurt, and make you perform at a higher level.
Yeah. And Andy, you've been swinging the pickleball paddle for several years now.
Yes, sir.
But just recently, you got to start swinging an Indian club.
Yeah.
With Zach too. I mean, you and I did it a little bit that one day when we met for coffee and we're in the parking lot, and I gave you your first Indian club. Maybe did I give you one or two?
One
maybe I
pounder.
just gave you one. Yeah.
And not ready for two yet.
You're not ready for two of them
yet.
And I just showed you a few basic moves. Then you got to, when you and Zach met, you got to swing it a little bit more and get that fluidity a little bit. And what was your first reaction of like kind of getting it? Like once you started swinging it and doing some of the mills, did you see right away, wow, this is valuable. I could see the benefits for the pickleball player is huge.
Yes, in many different ways. Not just warming up, but while it is really, really good for warming up, just getting or priming, getting that shoulder ready to do what you're about to be doing for that day. I also found some direct connections to how we want to hold a pickleball paddle and how the Indian club will naturally rest in your hand. While an Indian club is much heavier near the larger clubby part of it, it naturally falls for you. So when you swing it, that tip falls and you're more pushing out towards the net instead of up to the sky.
Yeah.
A big problem we see with lots of players is that their balls go too high up into the air.
Yeah.
So you have feeling this Indian club and getting a good feel for that can train their brains, their muscle memory. So when they put the paddle back in their hand, they're hopefully able to make that happen as well.
Right. And you were saying something the other day when you were talking with Zach about how you hold a pickleball paddle, and you're always you're targeting the contact. What was that thing that you were saying?
Oh, absolutely. So one of the, if not the most important factor when playing pickleball is your paddle face facing your target when you contact the ball.
Right.
If your paddle face is facing your target, the ball should go towards your target.
Right.
If your paddle face is not facing the target, it's going to go not to your target.
Right.
So being mindful of that, understanding how to manipulate the paddle to get it to your target is very, very important. And the Indian Club really, really gave me a good feel on how I can show people that who have not held the paddle for a long time.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, because there's a lot of people maybe who, they haven't played since maybe their teenage years or 20s.
Yep.
But their neighbors are playing, or somebody in their family or friends, and they're saying, come on, you got to come out and try this. Well, I haven't done anything in decades. And people, they get fearful. I don't want to hurt myself, or that's my, I'm past my prime. My body's not ready to do anything like that. And they're really counting themselves out. What would you say to that person? Maybe who's in their 50s, who's like, no, I haven't done anything like that in years. It's too much.
I would say take a lesson, come out for a group lesson or a one-on-one, and just give it a shot, because it's a very short learning curve and it's very low impact when you're starting. Yes, we can get really, really competitive with it.
Sure.
But there's all levels. There's low, intermediate, high. So there's a place for everybody on the court.
Yeah.
As long as you're taking care of yourself, you prime yourself a little bit, and your coaches will help you do that. We're not just going to throw you right into it.
Yeah.
Then you'll have a really, really good time on the court, and you might get to a really high level, even though you haven't played sports in years or maybe even ever before.
And pain in the shoulder, just like in any part of the body, doesn't mean that you're like broken and can't come back. Right? Can you speak to that a little bit, Zach? Because I think that's when people are in pain through movement, and then they stop doing that movement altogether. And I got frozen shoulder, or I got this ailment, I got that ailment, like my ankles, my hips, my knees, like these things don't work anymore. I'm in pain, and they just accept that, and then they stop doing any movement that causes any kind of discomfort. What would you say to that person?
Well, when there's pain in the body, that's just a signal that something is wrong. And in terms of joint pain, that means that there's excess friction.
Yeah.
And there's friction on the joint because the movement, the muscle synchronicity is not there. There's a lot of causes of pain, but
Sure.
we're talking more about maybe overuse or non-contact. Obviously, when we're talking about a contact injury, you fell, you got hit, God forbid a car accident, that's different. But we're just talking about, my shoulder's always hurting after I play pickleball, or my shoulder's always hurting after I lift weights.
Wake up in the morning.
I wake up in the morning. Yeah. And actually, as a therapist who sees people with pain all the time, now pickleball is different because you are just playing with one hand. But when someone says, my right shoulder, my right hip is hurting, and I'm like, why is that? Oh, I'm getting old. Well, I'll just say, well, that left shoulder is the same age as the right one, right? Why is the left one not hurting? And then sometimes the light bulb will go off, and they're like, oh, age isn't really a good excuse for this. So it's more about getting to the root cause. Why is there friction in the joint? Why is the muscles not working properly in a way that's going to take the load off the joint? And just because you're in pain now doesn't mean, oh, that's just part of getting older, or, oh, I'm always going to be in pain, or I always need to take Tylenol or Advil. It's like, no, how about we get to the root cause of it? How about we free up the shoulder, not just the muscles, but also the fascia, in a way that's going to make it more fluid, that's going to make it less painful when you first wake up or after you play a game or whatever. So pain itself is just, hey, something's wrong. Right. Something's going wrong. Let's solve it.
That's right. And our body is a chain. It's connected. And so when you start to address one issue, maybe from the ground up, it will impact, typically positively, if you're doing the right thing, the other areas of the body. So if people start to pay attention to their shoulder health, now maybe they prevent an elbow issue from arising, or a wrist issue, because what happens is if you start to neglect the needs of the shoulder, now you're putting more emphasis on what the elbow is doing. It's working in overdrive. It's working too hard. Now you're going to cause discomfort and pain there. which goes to the wrist, right? It's just it's a kind of a domino effect, if you will, of pain. So addressing those shoulder concerns with something like the Indian Club, which obviously you have thousands of hours of use with these Indian clubs, and your shoulders, I mean, obviously, yeah, you're a young, fit guy. That's what people say. Well, his shoulders don't hurt because he's a young, fit guy. Okay, but he also knows something. He's also invested tens of thousands of hours in learning about, biomechanics and physiology and all these things that impact the body through movement. And you've learned quite a bit using these Indian clubs when it comes to the shoulders specifically. And that circular, as you alluded to earlier, the circular rotation, which kids have no trouble with when they're younger, right? Their arms are up overhead. They're hanging from monkey bars. They're throwing every ball that comes their way. They're shooting baskets. They're playing tennis, right? They're throwing baseballs and footballs with each other. And they're moving dynamically without pain-free. And then, like I've said many times before in past talking points, when we stop moving our body dynamically, which typically happens between the ages of 20 and 30, that's when it starts, we start to lose our ability to move dynamically. If you don't use it, you lose it. It's true. And from 30 to 40, I think it just escalates, right? Well, I stopped doing that a lot in my 20s. I only did it every once in a while. Then in my 30s to 40s, I pretty much gave up on it altogether. Maybe I have a family, I'm married, I don't have time for myself anymore. I'm not doing those things anymore. So now, and then 40s to 50s, work and career and all these other things, and like this hurt. So people, they might have like 2 decades that they've given up on their bodies physically. And then they wake up one day in their 50s and they're like, I'm a mess physically. And it's scary. I'm right at that age. I'm 49 going on 50, but I'm not that person. Like, I've always made movement a priority in my life because I love it. I don't feel right if I'm not moving my body. And I'm not fit like Zach is. I'm not young and like ripped and all that stuff. Right? Most people aren't. However, there's a lot more that goes into it, right? Besides just movement. He's very dedicated to the way he eats and all that stuff, which plays a huge part of it. However, my point is this, is that if you don't prioritize movement in your life, movement of the body, and it starts with just basic stuff like walking every day, you are going to suffer the consequences later in life. So you have to prioritize movement, and movement everywhere. Not just movement of the legs with a brisk walk, which is nice, which does obviously get your upper body going a little bit. But it's dynamic motions of the body that you should never give up on, even if you have to modify a little bit as you get older. What can you say about that in terms of just modifying while understanding maybe some limitations because of age?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when it comes to movement, we can say just move more, but not all movement is created equal.
Right.
And in terms of human movement, I would say we should kind of try to move more in a way that our bodies naturally evolve to move. So if you look at what the human body is meant to do, standing, walking, running, eventually sprinting, obviously that's modifies. You should, even if someone's like gone beyond the point where they can never sprint again, maybe doing the work towards sprinting will, even if they never sprint, will get them more feeling better in their body. And then the other one is throwing.
Yeah.
And even though pickleball, like tennis, is a racket sport, we can look really deeper at the movement patterns. Pickleball is a throwing. The motion of hitting the ball is a throwing pattern, right? Like, so let's say you're serving. I mean, you're doing a low throw. Let's say you're going up overhead. That's like a high throw. Dinking would be maybe the only part that's not, but a backhand, you're throwing a frisbee, right? It's all throwing.
Right.
And so that's why we want to stand better, which means look at your posture, your static posture. We want to walk better. That's very important. How are you walking? We walk every day. Breathing is another one. Running. How do you run? Pickleball, you have to run. Yeah. Not only are you running in a linear way, but you have to laterally, you have to be able to be extremely dynamic
Yeah.
and sprinting. You have to be able to run quickly. So even though if you're older, you would obviously modify these things.
Sure.
You can modify. You're not throwing a spear. You're not throwing a punch. You're not throwing a foot. You could just be throwing a little 1 pound Indian club. You don't have to sprint, but you can work on that dynamic, the way that the hip flexor is meant to dynamically stretch with that leg behind and then explode as you pull it forward.
Right. And there's movements and exercises that can be done that mimic stuff, even floor sprints. It's not a real sprint, but it's still moving dynamically and pumping those knees up and down in a way that engages the hips and gets the core involved. Andy, what were you going to share?
Yeah, when Zach was talking about how pickleball is often like a throwing action.
Yeah.
When I'm having individuals learning dinks, or a big shot that we use is called a drop shot in pickleball, I often take the paddle out of their hand and have them just ball in hand, tossing to feel the action of what we want their arm and shoulder to be doing.
Yeah.
So we control the wrist, control the elbow, and use the shoulder. And then the other day, I actually put I had a client who was having a really hard time getting their serve in bounds. So I took the paddle out of their hand, which was too light, and put the Indian club in their hand and said, this is how we need to have our arm feel. We want to get on this roller coaster, that pirate ship roller coaster. Goes back and forth, like a child's swing, back and forth. So creating that motion without the paddle, with the club, and then with the paddle, gave them just lots of different looks to get familiar and be able to make that happen for them.
I love that. I love it. He's already implementing this. The Indian club into his pickleball teaching.
Well, the other day, when we were going through the warm up, I had in my mind the warm up, but then sharing with him, who's works with the pickleball all the time, he helped me actually even make it better.
Yeah.
Right. When we were doing the move called the saber serve, I was just thinking about the shoulder and getting the hip and everything together. But then he's like, how about we just rotate a little bit to mimic specifically for pickleball how when you go forward, the face of the paddle is going to the contact where you want it to go. And then on the way back, you also rotate. So he also changed the stance. He's like, this is more applicable for pickleball. So we had these little adjustments to make it more specific to pickleball.
Coast Guard helicopter.
Yeah.
Nice. No, go ahead.
And then even he just said that he started using not even the just the patterns with the paddle, but actually putting an Indian club into his students' hands. And I was like, okay. And then he even got some more insight about how this is more we can make it even a little bit more specific to pickleball players. And it was like, oh wow. So hearing it from a pickleball coach, using it with his students, and the students loving it because of the weight can make them. Well, how did you word it? Like,
it got them on the right swing path. The weight forced them to kind of stay on track.
Yeah.
Whereas the light pickleball paddle is easy to flip and flap around, which distorts where your ball is going to go.
Right. No, I love that. It is a perfect marriage, like taking the paddle out and putting the Indian club in, which is only 1 pound, right? It's not super heavy, but it is going to be heavier and it's weighted differently than a paddle. But it allows for that natural pendulum swing. It just feels right. It feels right. And this is something obviously that Zach has known for a long time because he latched onto this motion knowing like this is like benefiting me. This is benefiting my shoulder. This is also fun. And he's super creative you have some videos where you're just dancing with these darn things, like just twisting and turning and spinning and just playing with the club and coming up with new ways to use it, which is good. That's just like anybody who's really good at their craft. They have jam sessions for musicians. What do they use jam sessions for? They record jam sessions so that they can play together and just go off in any direction and see what happens, and then go back and listen to the jam session and listen for where's the new sound, where's the new groove that we got, right? And probably find something that works for them, and then they can turn that one little piece. Maybe it was just a minute of them jamming together, and they're like, we can make a song out of that, right? And that's the same thing with the Indian club, which is so cool. Is like if I can just play with it a little bit and use it in different ways, I can, especially somebody like you has all this experience, I'll find new methods and new ways, just like you experienced with Andy, a guy who knows how to swing a pickleball paddle, and he even turned you, showed you something new that you could, this will make my warm-up drill even better, which you designed a 2-minute warm-up for the pickleball player using just their paddle. So they don't have to bring their Indian club with them to the courts. They can just have their paddle, but do this very quick and easy and targeted warm-up that's going to prime their body.
Yeah, and actually going off of what Andy said with the weight, how the weight in their hand allows them to kind of get their swing pattern on point.
Yeah.
The weight is a huge component of the club because with the weight, I always tell my students when I'm teaching someone even brand new, let the weight do the work.
Yeah.
Your body's just kind of riding the wave, and the weight and the momentum is what's actually propelling it forward.
Yeah.
And so when I'm just freestyling with the club, that's what I'm doing. Let's say I'm flinging it out to the side, and then as the weight starts to do its momentum or the gravity takes over, I'm like, how can I position my body in a way to make this more fluid? And that's where I've come up with so many additional moves just by flinging it and being like, how do I ride this wave of the weight? And that's a big component of it, because when you look at, let's say training, just a question, when you have your pickleball clients, especially the older people that are really, really into pickleball, what other modes of training or exercise are they typically doing, if anything at all?
I know a few who do personal training, maybe walk or bike. But for the most part, I would say that pickleball is their exercise. They're getting their 2-hour session in, or their 1 hour lesson in, and that is most of their dynamic workout for the week. If it's not stuff that's a little bit more static, like stretching or yoga or Pilates, and then like walking on Bayshore and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so one thing that's important as we get older, while pickleball is great, right? It works your mind, works your body, the cardio. As we get older, we want to have a little bit more weight resistance. Now, a club is 1 pound, right? So it's not that much weight, but it is something. And so by simply moving that club around, you're going to be putting a little bit of pressure on the bones in these specific movements, especially the shoulder with the circular rotation, that's going to build bone density and build the frame. And then obviously as you can get a little bit heavier, 2 pound clubs, 3 pound, all the way up to 25, 30, they get pretty heavy. But that weight resistance is kind of missing. You do get a little bit with let's say you're jumping and landing, but as you get older, you really want to be more cognizant of weight. And I can't think of a better way of training your body than with clubs with a little bit of weight that's going to directly impact how you are on the field, or not the field, the court. Because another problem with it is, as a strength coach, the SAID principle. Not to go too much into the weeds, but specific adaptation to impose demands. Your body adapts directly to the things you put upon it. And so if you go to the gym and you're just doing the machines, which is a static, you're just working and there's not much dynamic, there's no fluidity in the movement, and then you go and try to be fluid, there's a lot of problems that can go there, right? The body's not prepared in that way to move dynamically, which is why even though people are like, oh, you're so young and you're not in pain and this and that, I'm 32, I'm fit, sure, but I know other people who are maybe even look better than me at 32, all kinds of pains, all kinds of inflammation in their joints, because they're typically just training like a bodybuilder, typically just doing these grind type exercises that don't really work with the dynamic mobility. Maybe they might do some yoga or some stretching on the side, but they're not really working the body in the way that it's meant to do, meant to move, and that causes the pain. So I can't think of a better means of strength training, especially for older people, than with some clubs, starting with the 1 pound, but then working your way up. That will immediately affect how you operate on the court.
Yeah, and that's obviously Ageless Shoulders is a program with the intent of getting back to healthy, pain-free shoulders. But in doing that, your programming is putting the whole body into the mix. You're getting the footwork, the hips, the core, the trunk to also coordinate and move with this. And that's what makes, the application of Indian club training, Indian club movement patterns so beautiful and perfect for pickleball, because the motions are very much the same. The way that you've and without you even doing it specifically for that. It's just kind of your nature. You're adding your own, because Indian club training dates back many, many years, centuries back. Mm-hmm. But you've kind of put your own spin on it. And it's largely been under the radar for, the last 100 years, let's say.
Since World War II.
Yeah. And this was something that, you saw the magic in it and the benefits to it that would be for anybody at any age. And it just has such a correlation to the movement patterns and motions of the body required in pickleball. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just what made this marriage, so nice.
Yeah.
It's just so natural.
I'd certainly never heard of an Indian club before, but I actually have a old paddle that I taped a 2.5 pound weight plate
that's
to.
right. Yeah, you said that.
So that I could have clients kind of create that motion that the club actually creates for them.
Yep.
So I can go from the club to the weighted paddle to their paddle, and there's immediate direct connections.
Yeah, funny. That. Yeah, so you created basically your own paddle Indian club.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and just trying to train your clients is that's pretty awesome. So, obviously, most of the conversation today is dedicated around the pickleball player. But as I said, this applies to anybody looking to stay active into their 50s and beyond, 50s and 60s plus. Did you happen, Andy, to see a news piece that just came out, I think within the last week or so, and it was this woman who's like, I want to say she's like 95.
Wow.
Pickleball, and she's like winning stuff. She's like doing great. And I'm trying to remember I think it was local. That's why it was like, I think it was on local news. It wasn't national news. Sure. I think it was local news in this area. And she is just this vibrant. She does not present as at 95 or whatever she is. She's well into her 90s, and she's somebody that just is out there getting after it, winning pickleball games and having a great time. Full of life, full of energy. And I think that's who I'm that's when I'm speaking to people, that's what I'm trying to get them to envision for themselves, whether it's pickleball or whatever the activity is. Maybe you have no interest in paddle sports or racket sports at all, and that's fine. But whatever it is, maybe you're a golfer, maybe you're, you just want to stay swimming really a lot. There's a way to stay doing these things later in life and not robbing yourself of those, golden years of being up out of your house, being out of your chair, and just making movement a priority. And the way to do it is to keep your body as close to pain-free as possible. Not saying that you're going to be pain-free. Right. Everyone has kind of deals with their ailments, but there's, like we talked about, pain is just your body's telling you that there's an issue there and you probably should address it. And that's what the Indian Club does such a great job of, is addressing those issues in the body, specifically in the shoulders, and being able to circulate the blood to promote healing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big thing. Again, the reason why I got so into the clubs especially is because I started seeing people on my table, my treatment table, and their shoulder, they hurt their shoulder. And then they went to the rehab through a PT. And I'm asking, how was it? It made it worse. In some cases, it literally made it worse.
Yeah.
They're just doing their band exercises. They showed me what they taught them. It's isolation exercises for the rotator cuff, which maybe is a little bit important, right? You want to have strong muscles that make up the rotator cuff, but more important is how the shoulder is synchronizing together.
Right.
And they don't do that, right? That's not a thing. And that's why it's like putting more gas on the fire and makes their shoulders worse. And that was a huge thing that was missing in terms of moving better and moving more pain-free as we get older, is actually moving the body, especially the shoulder, in the way that it was designed to move. Yeah. And that was together as a ball and socket joint, the muscles and the tendons working together as one in a synchronized way to produce whatever it is movement you want to do.
Yeah.
That was missing. And I'm like, okay, so like, how can we do this for older people? Because that's older people are the ones that the medical costs are through the roof. And then what do? We're in pain. How do we subdue the pain? Painkillers, anti-inflammatory drugs. These no, you're shutting off the signal that's telling you, hey, wake up, fix the root cause, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's missing.
Yeah, that's what we're all about. Fix the problem. Don't just Band-Aid it. Yeah. Andy, any last thoughts for our listeners, our viewers of the magic of pickleball and being out on the courts and all the benefits?
Well, one thing I was thinking about in terms of the Indian clubs as well is we hear that new phrase, sitting is the new smoking.
Yes.
So just being static and not being dynamic can be just as bad as doing something as bad as smoking cigarettes. So even if you're between games, you could be moving a club around, swinging your paddle like a club, getting your shoulder going so that you're more warmed up for your next game.
Yeah.
You're primed for your next game.
Yeah.
In open play, you might be waiting between 5 and 15 minutes for another game. But once you're in tournaments, you might be waiting 30, 45 minutes to an hour before you get to play your next game. And you need to keep yourself primed and ready. But hitting a ball constantly can be overwhelming. You might have to be in the sun to do that. So you can take your Indian club or paddle into the shade and just keep yourself moving and dynamic.
Yeah. Has there been a person that comes to mind? You don't have to name them or anything, but somebody that you knew was new to pickleball who you saw this change occur in them or happen maybe over time, short period of time or long period of time, where they just gravitated this, kept showing up, kept putting in the work, and then just became part of the community, and it kind of changed their outlook, maybe it changed their life?
Yeah, I taught a woman how to play 4 or 5 months ago. And then this past weekend, she won a silver medal at the 3.5 level, which made me feel really good and good for her crew. And where she had never played before, now she's like solidified in this community and really loves it. And
making friends. I'm sure probably some of her new best friends are going to Tampa Bay.
I can't tell if she's dating this guy or not, but they seem close.
Potential marriages happening here. So all good things for sure. But I think it's just vital to our existence as human beings is when we get to that final third, if you will, of our life, those final chapters that we're able to enjoy our time with other people, with experiences and making new memories and playing and moving our bodies the way they're designed to move. Mm-hmm. Because once we decide movement is beyond us, that's in our past, that's when I think we're looking for the exit, and I don't want to look for the exit anytime soon. I want them to be dragging me off the pickleball court, kind of thing, and so that's awesome. Zach, just thank you so much for your enthusiasm and your passion for helping people through, the Indian club training. It's just a tool. It's just one of the many tools that you have kind of at your disposal over the years, all the things that you've learned and ways that you've implemented strength training and resistance training into your life. But the Indian club certainly kind of is at the top of the heap just because it's such a special thing that pretty much anybody can pick up and start using. And they don't necessarily have to look like you using it because you're pretty darn advanced, but there's a place to start, and the Ageless Shoulders program is that beginner level starting place. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just real quick too, in terms of the pickleball players, and we keep talking about shoulder.
Yeah.
But even you made a little point of it. I want to emphasize it. Let's say you see a lot of people with elbow pain.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
So typically, unless it's a contact injury, the elbow pain doesn't come from the elbow. The elbow pain comes from the shoulder, and in some cases the wrist, but more than likely it's the shoulder. Same thing as the knee. People who have knee pain from a non-contact injury, it's not coming from the knee. More than likely it's coming from the hip or the foot.
Yeah.
So you look up or down. And so even if someone over here is dealing with elbow pain and is this going to help me? It will, because it'll free the shoulder up in a way that the shoulder takes more of the brunt rather than the elbow. And the club training, like with the side mill, the one of the main components of the 2-minute warm-up before you play pickleball as done with your paddle is it's actually moving the hip in a way that's going to open and close it with the shoulder. So even if someone has knee pain, just doing a couple of those movements to lubricate the hip will take the load off the knee. So we're not just isolating shoulder here. Shoulder is the main component, but we're also talking about elbow pain. We're talking about knee pain. We're talking about hip pain, even foot or ankle pain because of the little pivot of the foot that was working. So it's the entire body that's working with that 2-minute warm-up. And then the bigger scale would be the Ageless Shoulders program, where we're even including some hip hinges with the pendulum. So it's a full body therapeutic method that's going to get everything lubricated, working together in a way that more pain-free, perform better.
Yep.
I mean, it's for any age.
Yeah, for any age. Well, thank you guys, both of you, so much for being here. It's a great conversation. Certainly, listeners, there's whether this applies to you specifically or to somebody in your life. Maybe it's a parent, it's a friend, it's a neighbor. Certainly, there's somebody who will benefit from listening to what Coach Zach and Coach Andy have had to share today. Their desire to get people out and moving in the world. And I mean, we're in the health and fitness space. That's the industry that we operate in, right? And we want to keep people moving and keep them as close to pain-free as possible. We realize that's a lofty task, but certainly one that we're willing to tackle and to continue working at because of our passion for play and for movement and for the quality of life that it gives us. So I hope you've enjoyed the conversation today. It's been a lot of fun. And please check the show notes for the link to learn more about the Ageless Shoulders program and how the amazing Indian Club can benefit you, your shoulder, and really just help you stay active and stay moving. And we just appreciate you so much for tuning into the Strong by Design podcast. Please be sure to leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to the show. And as I said, share it with a friend or family member who needs to hear this conversation. Thank you so much. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon.
Hoorah.
Rock and roll.
Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.